Do you remember when these were used all over the place during COVID? That they use this temperature gauge and they would point it at your forehead and they would say, hey, I need to do this to decide whether or not we're going to let you come into the building or not. Every time they pointed one of these at me, I was scared to death because I didn't know if they were going to accept me or not accept me. It scared me to death. Isn't that how it is for all of us? We're not sure if we're going to be accepted or not. We're not sure if somebody's going to point one of these little temperature guns and say, yes, you're in, no, you're out. It scares me to death that people would do that to me. And I think it scares every human being whether or not we're accepted or not accepted. I think we ask the same thing about God. We think that God has one of these temperature gauges that says, yes, you're in, no, you're out, good person, bad person, religious, not religious. And so we are all wondering whether or not we're accepted or not, which is the greatest human need that we can all have. So check this out and see whether or not God accepts you and accepts me.
I've had a few defining moments in my life. One of the first, I think, was when I moved here to Malibu when I was in middle school. When I got into school, a few of the girls in the programs were older, and one of the girls in particular asked if I wanted to go to Vegas, and it was the early 90s, and I just moved to Malibu. For me, it was a very enticing life, a very exciting thing to do at 13. When I got there, my friend, she had asked me if I was gay, and it was something that I said, I don't know. And she said, well, my 30-year-old Elvis impersonating boyfriend would be willing to try stuff with you. After the show that night, I don't remember much. I remember getting stoned and she going in another room and stuff had happened. That was a defining moment in my life because he forced me to do things that it was not my choice. I was defined by someone and an action that wasn't myself. I started to compartmentalize my life and trying to figure out who I was. Throughout the next 25 years, I did a lot of drugs and tried to find myself. And then I got real sick. I woke up one morning and couldn't walk from my bed to my couch and had to go to the hospital. I had full-blown AIDS. Dr. Wright, he was really an HIV specialist. He came in and he goes, okay, we're gonna put you on Bactrim, which is an antibiotic, and like 1 in a million people are affected by it, and it collapsed my lungs. I ended up spending the next 3 months in the ICU and 2 more months in the hospital. I went from having everything as a rich Malibu kid to, at 32, dying and being everything taken away from me. But one thing that wasn't taken away from me was I love the Lord. I know I was saved by God. I know that He existed. There's no doubt in my mind. I came back from the dead. Something supernatural happened, and I now have to sit there and go, okay, how do I come to terms with this? What do I need to do with the rest of this life? And for the last 9 years, I've been trying to figure that out. I talk to God every day. I just say, pilot me. Where do you want me to go? And what I've realized is that we are our own enemies. We build up so much in our heads in saying, oh, God did this, or oh my gosh, my life, I hate this person. And so much of it has nothing to do with us. It just has to do with what we're thinking in our heads. And, I came back not wanting to be here, and then God placed me with my old job with a church that I came to that had burnt down and just opened up the world, and it was just by listening. I used to come to Malibu Press when I was a kid. I did Vacation Bible School here. I taught that. I loved Malibu Press. And then I came to Malibu Pacific Church and didn't know what to expect. It's a church I've known since I was young, and it was a place I loved. I really felt accepted. And I've been coming back ever since. The most immediate impact I can have on people's life and what I want to do now is to help is I'm gonna be an EMT, I'm gonna be a first responder. I can pray with somebody if they're on their deathbed, or I can just be there and put a smile on their face. If I can get through this and I was saved, God loves you, God cares about you, and will take care of you. I stopped going to church about 8-10 years ago, and this is the first church I've come back to and been like, yep, I can be here. And I hope to see you guys more. I hope to be around here more, and thank you for having me.
Every single one of us knows what it's like to be rejected. Every single one of us knows that we need to perform in order to have a group like us or love us or accept us. Our parents even taught us early on that if you clean your room, we love you. If you don't, we don't love you. If we mess up, you belong to the house. If you don't, you're going to be disciplined and punished, or you don't belong here anymore. Every kid knows the pain and the fear of being rejected, of not being accepted or picked to be on a team. And that's what we often think of God or the local church, that they don't like me or they won't accept me there because I have baggage, I haven't performed, I'm not good. There's stuff in my past that I've done that God won't like, or the people at the church won't accept me because I don't belong to that group, because I'm not a church person or I'm not a religious person. But actually, that's not who God is, and that's not what the church is. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus tells a bunch of people, religious people and people far, far away from God, that there was this man, this father, who had 2 sons. And this one son, the prodigal son, he said, "Dad, I wish you were dead." And he embarrassed everybody in the community, and he said, "Dad, give me the inheritance now because I wish you just weren't here anymore." So the father loved his son so much that he actually gave it to his son. So the son took it and he went off to wild living, probably went to Vegas or somewhere, and he spent it all. He lived it up. He did it all. Imagined what you could do with a lot of money, and he did it to the point where he ran out of money. And he ended up eating the food of pigs. And it doesn't get any lower than that for a Jew. So in that moment, as he's in the pig stall eating the food of pigs, he came to his senses. And he said, "You know what? My dad's servants have it better than me. So I'm going to go home and ask him just to be my servant. Maybe he'll let me be his servant. I know he'll never accept me as his son." And so the son gets up and says, "I'm going to start going home to be home with my father, knowing that I will never be accepted to be in the house again or in a relationship with my father." But the father, who is on the porch looking far off, he sees his son coming, and he runs to his son, which I can only imagine his son is thinking, the prodigal son is thinking, "Dad's going to beat me, man. He's going to destroy me because he's mad." But the father runs up to his son and he doesn't beat him. The father runs up to his son and hugs him and kisses him and says, "Hey, everybody, let's throw a party because my son was dead and now he's alive. He was lost and now he's found." Did you know that that's the heart of the Father? He's filled with compassion for you and for me. He loves us so much, and his love isn't based on what we've done or not done to gain his love. God loves us just for who we are because we're his children. We're his prized creation, and God loves us so, so very much. Did you know that that's the way it is in the church? And a lot of people think, "Oh, I can't go to church because do you know my past? Do you know what I've done? Do you know my brokenness? There's no way they'll accept me." But that's not true. So I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to come to Malibu Pacific Church because we believe that this church, this gathering of people, is for everybody and every story. So I want to challenge you to prove us wrong if we don't accept you, or we'll prove you wrong, that there is nothing that you have ever done in your past that would keep us from loving you and loving each other. Prove us wrong. We look forward to seeing you.